Happy Thursday, January 22nd. Welcome everyone if you found my channel. Okay, I hope you found me okay. I'm not sure if I'm doing everything right yet as of yet with the to do or behave however the algorithm expects me to behave. I'm still learning on how to deal with that. Yeah, wow. So another day of basic text reading, another personal story. For those of you who don't know me, my name is John Clayton. I'm a recovering drug addict and alcoholic, and I've been clean and sober since February 21st, 2021. And actually, as of yesterday, I was 3 years and 11 months clean. Yeah, amazing. It's a miracle is what it is. So another chance to live is today's reading. When he reached the point where he couldn't live with or without drugs, this Australian addict attempted suicide. He survived through grace, and now he's been clean more than 16 years. Another chance to live. Wow. In the life of every addict, there are crossroads. Times when we could stop using and take responsibility for our lives if we made the choice. I went through the crossroads one day in the bus station toilets. I chose the wrong path. I think I was supposed to die, but by the grace of God, I was given another chance. I have been clean for 16 years. I got clean when I was 22. So I have lived most of my adult life as an NA member here in Australia. I have a full, rich life thanks to the program of Narcotics Anonymous. As an adolescent, I was governed by the compulsion to take drugs. The results were trouble, violence, prison, and poor health. My using was punctuated by legally required visits to counselors, probation officers, psychologists, etc. Rarely could I hear what these people were saying or hear anything above the rumbling din of self and the desire for drugs. I was so focused on getting what I thought I needed that I ignored most of the moral boundaries most people take for granted. I stole, lied, cheated, scammed, robbed. In the end, I was exactly what the basic text says, reduced to the animal level. I hunted the streets like a wolf, looking for money and drugs. Deep inside, I still had a conscience, but I couldn't access it. I couldn't afford it. It was buried under a pile of emotional rubble. The task of cleaning up all that rubbish was too great. There were too many things to deal with to live a normal life. My life became a misery of unresolved responsibilities. I believe every human's real job is looking after themselves, and I couldn't seem to do that. Eating, sleeping, drinking water, exercising, staying warm or clean seemed irrelevant and virtually impossible. The result was a vicious cycle of hunger, poor hygiene, and bad health. The, the health. Between the layers of self, these inabilities had a particular emotional plan that I carried. I couldn't feel it or articulate it properly until I got clean. I don't know whether I brought this pain from childhood or whether it came into the world with me, but I still carry it. It's not always present, but it arises from time to time as I move through these layers. If I had If I get rejected, left out, treated as second best, or am not wanted in some way, the pain can become acute. I used to medicate this pain with drugs. For a long time they made me feel better, but in the end, the edge of sanity to the brink of death, and now I no longer see myself as having that option. For me, using drugs is suicide. When I was 20 years old, I spent time in a maximum security prison for burglary. In there, I saw some of the most brutal human behaviors that I have ever witnessed. After 2 excruciating years, I was released with no absolute commitment to stop using. I trusted for me 1 hour before I was stoned on about 4 different drugs and went into a blackout. My life spiraled out of control for the next few months. My powerlessness was evident, unmanageability, undeniability, or sorry, undeniable. I woke up from a blackout with blood on me that wasn't mine. I had a pocket full of money and no recollection. I was frightened about what I was becoming. One night, I was trying to sleep through withdrawals. I had taken some heavy tranquilizers, but they hadn't worked properly. I was in a stupor of frustration and futility. The pain of my whole wretched life was caving in on me. I worked myself into a weeping, cursing, violent rage, smashing the room, scratching and weeping. Cursing violent rage, smashing the room, scratching and punching at my own face. My housemate was terrified and called my parole officer. The following day, an intervention was done by my parole officer, a counselor, and my mother. They told me they were going to send me back to prison unless I went to NA and did 90 meetings in 90 days. I said I would do whatever they wanted. They told me that wasn't good enough. I had to make choices for myself because recovery couldn't occur until I really wanted to change. I was caught in limbo by conflicting desires. Uh, of course I wanted to change, but I couldn't. I wanted to use, but I couldn't. I felt there was something left to do, so I decided to kill myself. I left the intervention that day filled with a sense of absolute doom and desolation. I did a robbery, bought as many drugs as I could, and overdosed in the bus station toilets. I wanted to die because there didn't seem to be an alternative to the misery that my life had become. I went through the crossroads that day and chose the wrong path, but by the grace of God, I was given a second chance. I woke up a couple of hours later, crumpled on the floor of the toilet, completely defeated. My life a shambles. I walked, trudged, not knowing what to do or where to go. In that state of blind desperation, the winds of chance blew me into a detox center across the highway. They took pity on me and admitted me, even though I wasn't the required 48 hours clean. I lay naked, curled up on the bed, sobbing that night, feeling particularly a sense of freedom because deep inside I think I knew it was over. I had surrendered. I just didn't really know what that meant yet. At that at that detox, they took people to meetings daily. I struggled through those painful first few days, but on a Wednesday night at a meeting in a homeless center, I heard and felt the NA messages for the first time. I didn't have to use drugs anymore. There was a way out. I was inspired by other people who were clearly junkies but didn't seem to be using. They made me believe there was a chance for me to really stop and have a go at life. I feel sad now writing this. I am much more emotionally in touch with my old mad life now than I ever was back then. I couldn't imagine how life would play out. I just saw a black hole of the unknown, but I had decided just for the novelty to give it a go for a couple of days and see how long I could last. I lasted 49 days, then I relapsed, and the compulsion to take drugs was back on me like a ferocious animal. My life spiraled immediately out of control again, and I realized that the previous 49 days had been the most trouble free in the last 10 years. The relapse lasted for about 2 months before another detox and the death of another friend through overdose. I have been clean now since the 25th of January 1989, and my clean time is my treasure. I protect it with my life because it is my life. I have gone on to do many of the things that it seems to me a person should do. I own a house and a business. I went back to school and got an education. All the normal social and material assets have returned, but more than any of that, I have loved, at times deeply. I feel things, I feel everything. I guess I had always been scared of that, but it is amazing to feel brilliant and frightening, sad and awesome all at once. I am excited to be alive. I am excited about what is to come. I still suffer with existential angst from time to time and wonder what we are all doing here on this planet. But I have decided on a purpose, and that makes it easier for me. I care about people getting clean. I have dedicated myself to NA and to serving others. I attend meetings regularly. I participate in the local areas and the regions. I sponsor people, and I have an NA sponsor. I live the steps. I live the steps to the best of my ability, and I am trying to become the best person I can be. I believe that by living like this, we give others permission to do the same. And he gave me the key to another life, and this is it. We keep what we have by giving it away. Wow, that was a good story. You know, it's interesting too because I can relate in a lot of ways. You know, the fact that during my active addiction, well, the last year of my active addiction, I overdosed 8 times, and the the second time the first time I overdosed was by accident, but the second time well, I mean, it's not like you intend to overdose any of the times really, but the first time I did a different drug than I thought I was doing, and but I had people who they basically looked after me all night because I spent the night getting sick, like puking sick and in and out of consciousness constantly, and yeah, it was horrible. And then, but all the other times, like the second time, you know, it, I thought I was only out for a couple of seconds, but I was out for almost 45 minutes, and 3 Norcan shots, and but right away, so right away, as soon as I come to, and here I am diving right back into, because Narcan cleans everything out of your body, and so I was right away, as soon as I was came through, I was dope sick. So right away, I wanted another hit, and of course, the girl I was with at the time was freaking out. You just died. You're gonna want, yeah. It was a. I'm so glad. I'm so happy that that's not part of my life anymore. And I have to, and it's interesting because even though I'm clean and sober, well, like I said, as of yesterday, 3 years and 11 months, and in 2 days, I've had 3 people ask me for drugs, and I think it's funny because as soon as I tell them that I'm in recovery or whatever, and then a lot of them will be all apologetic, for even asking, and then other ones will, say, "Hey, good for you," or whatever. And but yeah, there was something else that I wanted to share to relate to that story, and I hate that my mind that I can't. I hate that I struggle with keeping my thoughts more focused on what I want to say or what I feel that I can share. Because now that I'm clean and sober, I'm really open about my recovery. You know, and like what Buddy said in the story there, of how you know the most important thing to him is his clean time. That's his treasure. Well, that's kind of how I feel too. You know, and it really helps that I don't have a desire to use today, because without with if I was fighting that desire, then I can't say on whether or not I'd be able to stay clean or not. So I've got a lot of gratitude today, and see if I can make it for another 4 years after next month. But anywho, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate every one of you. I'd love it if you hit like or subscribe. If nobody's told you today that they love you, well, I love you, and we will see you again real, real soon. Okay, bye for now.